that helps humanity in general, through a book and all. I honor you, sir, and I'm so glad that you're here. And so I'd like you just to tell us all about it.
Well, thank you both, first of all, for having me on. It's really great to be here and great to be able to speak to your audience. It is true. I had 2 spontaneous remissions, and I'll tell you about the first one. I was 7 years old, and I was really sick with the measles. My parents had made a bed for me upstairs on the couch in the living room so that I could be near their bedroom. And I had overheard them talking, and I knew the plan for me. You know how parents will talk, adults will talk around kids and think that for some reason kids can't hear or kids can't understand. But I knew the plan. The plan was I was going to be admitted to the hospital the next morning, and I was going into something called an oxygen tent. And I didn't really know what an oxygen tent was. The tent part of it sounded interesting to my 7-year-old boy brain, but I was too sick to really think about camping. But this particular night, my parents came into the room. Everyone else had gone to bed, and I'm lying there on the couch just feeling really ill. And I remember this like it happened yesterday, even though, of course, it was many years ago. And my mother said to my father, honey, will you kneel down and say a prayer with me so that our boy will be able to get well? And so they did. Now, knowing my dad, this might have been the first time that I heard my dad pray, but I think my parents were worried, very worried about me. So my dad starts offering this prayer. And in the middle of this prayer, something really dramatic happened. And I'll try to describe this. Some kind of a change began at the top of my head, and it went whoosh through my body that fast, and I was instantly healed. Now, to go from being really, really sick one moment to being completely, entirely, vibrantly healthy and totally cured in the next instant is so bizarre and so impossible and so amazing and incredible and so unique that you can't ever forget it. And I mean, I remember every moment of that little vignette like it happened yesterday to me, and it was a long time ago. So I held my tongue. I didn't want to interrupt my dad, but I held my tongue until my dad was done praying, which didn't take long. And when he was done, I said, I'm better. Heavenly Father healed me. I'm well. And they said, that's fine, honey. Go back to sleep. But the next day proved it. I was better. So I learned from that experience that there is a higher power that we can draw upon. And so that really stuck with me. And as a young boy, I kind of filed that away. But I thought about that a lot. That changed my perception in a really powerful way. Mm-hmm. So fast forward about 7 more years, and things tend to run in those 7-year cycles, right? I started getting pain in the back. And the pains started off gradually, and then all of a sudden they reached this unbelievable crescendo where these pains would take my breath away, or sometimes literally just put me on the ground. They would strike out of nowhere. It felt like I was being run through with a sword or something. It was really extreme, really terrifying, frankly. So my parents were very worried about me, took me to the hospital, tests were run. My parents were told that I had kidney disease and that I had about a 50-50 chance of getting well, and that there was nothing that they could offer me. They had no treatment for this. And of course, if your kidneys die, and my kidneys were dying, if your kidneys die, at that time, back then, there were no kidney transplants. They didn't know how to do those. And so I was done. So my life suddenly had come to a grinding halt, and there was nothing that medically could be done for me. So my parents decided that they would try some alternatives. And my mother was kind of a health nut back then, back in the days when people actually thought you were really a nut and certifiable if you took vitamins and things like that. So.
Yes, we're familiar with this scenario, sir.
And, it's strange that there may even be some people who still think that way, despite all the evidence. I'm sure
there are some holdouts.
I know. Yeah.
So then what?
Well, so they took me to see a couple of holistic doctors, and they practiced out on the edge of town in the middle of they had a trailer house in the middle of a wheat field. Okay. Mm-hmm. And they took me to see them. Now, these two doctors, Dr. Alan Bain and Dr. Ida Harmon, were old-time osteopathic doctors, and they did a lot with herbs and things, and they were true healers. And I mean, I can remember going there and seeing buses from other states that would come there. People would charter buses to come and see them because they were such great healers. So they started working on me. And within a very short time, within a couple of weeks, I mean, really, I started feeling better. I started feeling improvements right away. But within about 3 weeks, I was practically better. Within a month, it was gone. It was complete. I was completely well.
Wow.
And my folks took me back to the clinic, and they ran all the tests again just to make sure. And that's when I heard those words, as I recall, spontaneous remission. Whatever we did must have helped. And I knew they hadn't really done anything. I was only 13, but I knew that it was these other people that had actually helped me.
Right.
So I decided that's what I wanted to do with my life.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to go into the healing arts, and I wanted to do what these people did. And I can remember lying on their treatment table and looking up at them and saying, I want to do this. I want to do what you do when I grow up. And they would say, no, you don't. No, you don't. Because if you go to chiropractic school or naturopathic school, or you become an osteopath, they'd say, you'll get your head so full of fixed ideas that you won't be able to think for yourself when you get out. You'll be like a zombie. That's what they would tell me.
Wow.
And so when I finally had that experience with prayer, where I heard that voice that said, this is a sacred calling that you talked about earlier, that's when I was trying to figure out what to do. I had kind of gotten sidetracked from that dream for a long time. But that was a very powerful answer to prayer that put me on that healing path again. And when I got into practice, I decided, okay, God's gotten me into this. Maybe God will help me with these patients that I'm seeing. And so the secret, really, of my success is prayer. Because what happened was I got in this habit of asking for help with every person that I saw. And so, I might have been seeing 20, 30 people a day. And every person, before I'd go to work with them, I would just take a moment. And it was a totally private, totally personal thing. And it wasn't any kind of a long, drawn-out prayer. It was really just a momentary pause where I would just silently ask for help. Father in heaven, please help me to help this person. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. And that was it. I'll tell you something, though. I learned once again that God, or higher power, Father, however you might refer to God, I think we're all talking about the same thing. That God is aware of us and everything we're doing all the time. Because there were times during those years when somebody would come in to see me and I didn't know how to approach their problem. I didn't know how to help them, didn't know what to do. And in response to that very short, heartfelt prayer, that asking for help, there were times when the information would just flood into me like an avalanche of data and understanding. Now, in the 20 odd years that I was in practice in one form or another, that happened as many times as I can count, really, on one hand. So that was kind of the exception rather than the rule. What I've come to understand, though, is that when you pray and you ask for help, that help always comes, but it doesn't always come in the way that you expect, or maybe in the way that you want. I believe that the angels around us, those angels that are guiding and supporting us through our mortality, our mortal experience, those angels are often our departed loved ones, maybe descendants of ours that are yet to be born. And when we ask for help, usually, I believe that help comes through those angels, and that help will often come as something very subtle. It'll be an idea that we think might be our own idea, but it's really coming from them, because they'll whisper things to our minds. It might be an impression. It might be a thought that we have. And that's usually how those answers come. And so that was my practice, and that's kind of how it went for many years, where I'm just asking for help with each person and then trying to help them as best I can. And I learned some really fascinating things. And the Emotion Code book that I published in 2007, after leaving practice in 2004, that book is really about what I learned. One of the most important things that I learned during those years was that we have emotional baggage. And, that's a phrase that we often use, usually in reference to other people other than ourselves, right?
Of course, I would say almost always in reference.
I don't have any emotional baggage. I'm being facetious.
Neither do I.
Yes, right.
Me neither. But what I found was that emotional baggage is very real and very powerful. And what I found during practice was that no matter how old or young my patients were, no matter what they were suffering from, no matter what their condition was, whether it was some kind of pain, headache pain, migraines, neck pain, low back pain, knee pain, carpal tunnel, shoulder pain, whatever it might be, there was emotional baggage that was the biggest underlying cause of that pain. And I also found that emotional baggage is always present and is always a factor in every disease process that we suffer from as human beings. And it was an amazing thing to gradually realize this. And that was part of the impetus for me getting out of practice and writing this book, The Emotion Code, because people had to know about this. 90% of all the physical pain that people have is due to emotional baggage. Now think about that. If you're listening to this right now, you're watching this right now, and you got a headache, you got back pain, neck pain, whatever, you got pain somewhere, I'm telling you right now, there's a 9 out of 10 probability that that pain is actually being caused by the emotional energy of some experience that you went through that is still stuck in your body. You see, these bodies of ours are pure energy. Even though, if you look at your hand looks pretty solid, and if you slap it down on a desk, it makes a nice thunk sound. But the reality of it is, our bodies are almost entirely empty space. In fact, some quantum physicists recently calculated that if you could take all the empty space out of every single person's body on Earth, you could fit all 7.8 billion of us into a little box the size of a sugar cube.
Oh, I love it.
Would it be crowded? Well, yes, but it could be done, right? Theoretically. So the interesting thing is, when we're feeling emotions, every emotion has its own frequency of vibration. And since the body itself is just a vibration, it's an energy field. If you're feeling an emotion powerfully enough, your whole body can take on that frequency. And so if you're really feeling angry, for example, your whole being can be taking on that specific vibration, because every emotion has its own frequency and its own vibration, and they're all different. So when an emotion is powerful enough, if it's too powerful, say, it may become trapped in the body. Or if there are emotions that are maybe coming up for you that you don't want to feel, and you suppress those, you bury those, you stuff those emotions, those can create trapped emotions as well. And so we all have emotional baggage. A trapped emotion is literally a ball of emotional energy, if you can imagine, from about the size of a baseball to about the size of a softball. And these things will inhabit the body, and they interfere with our ability to be who we are capable of being, who we are supposed to be. And so when we release that emotional baggage, it can make an immediate change in how we feel. And there are so many stories about this. I have seen so many different cases of depression and anxiety and phobias and panic attacks and PTSD and eating disorders and self-sabotage of all kinds, get well, all kinds of physical conditions. And of course, we now have between 6,500 and 7,000 practitioners around the world in 80 countries doing this work and having great results of this. So I just went to our website at discoverhealing.com. And if you scroll down a ways, you'll see the latest 3 testimonials. We have about 9,643 testimonials. These come in every single day.
Wow, that is really impressive, I must say.
It's amazing.
I love that it's all around the world, and you've actually got other healers that are doing this technique, because you're only one person. You can only do so much.
And that's the testimony of the results of this being accurate, real, and valid, and working.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, I realized, and like you say, I realized long ago, I can work. I was working really hard, right? Working long days, and sometimes I'd go into the office at 4 a.m. because I was younger then. But
you're 14.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
But I finally realized no matter how many hours I put in, I'm never going to be able to make a dent in the world. This has to go to the whole world. So here's a testimonial that just came in within the last couple of days, maybe today or yesterday. This is from a woman named Chantel. She says, one of my first emotion codes releases on myself was a trapped emotion of inherited terror. Now, we can inherit emotional energy at conception from mom or dad that they might have inherited from their mom or dad, and these can go back for generations sometimes. She says, I had been afraid for a long time to be home alone, especially at nighttime. My entire body would seize up with fear, and I would be certain that I was hearing someone breaking in pretty regularly. I would even wake up at the smallest noise in the middle of the night and have my husband walk around the house to make sure we were safe. If I was going to be home alone or with the kids even for one night without my husband here, I would take them to my parents' house so that I would not have to deal with the fear. After we released this inherited trapped emotion of terror, I have been able to be home alone for multiple days on end and even walk around outside at nighttime with zero fear. I am not constantly worrying about if the house is locked up or if the alarm system is on. I feel completely relaxed and peaceful. So isn't that interesting how some ancestor of this woman's experienced something terrifying, right? That emotional energy became trapped in that person's body. And when that person contributed or conceived a child, right, when they were in that process, that emotional energy was shared to that offspring. And then she doesn't say how far back this one, but we see sometimes these go back 10 or 20 generations. And so that emotion of terror was in her, but it really wasn't hers. It really originated with that ancestor. So isn't that interesting?
I love that. And I think what's not spoken here is that her clearing it has also done it for all future generations to come.
For her ancestors.
This is where I think we have real power in clearing it for ourselves and all future generations to come.
So you teach the identification and also, I suppose, the clearing process.
Yes, exactly. That's all part of the emotion code. You can learn it all from the book. And it's not only the future generations, but it also is the generations in the past. In fact, let me share a story with you. I was at an event once, speaking to a group of about 300 people. I asked for a volunteer. I said, if you're really in pain and if you think that no one else in the room could possibly be in more pain than you, I want you to raise your hand. And so this woman raised her hand and she hobbles up onto the stage, and she's limping. She's got this terrible hip problem. On a 0 to 10 scale, she's a 9. It's been going on for a year. And so I tested, found one thing, corrected that, took her pain from a 9 to a 4. And then the next thing that I found on her, and by the way, we use muscle testing or other forms of getting information from the body, other forms of biofeedback, but usually muscle testing. So I have her up on the stage, and the next thing that I find going on with her is that she has an inherited trapped emotion of, actually it was fear, and she got it from her father. See, the subconscious mind knows where these things are originating from. And so in testing her, I got that this came from her father, and he got it from his father, who got it from his father, and it went back that way in the father's line 12 generations. Now, at that point, when I'm doing a live event, usually what I'll do is I will ask that person's subconscious mind if those direct line ancestors are there with us. And it's funny because they're always there. They always show up for the release of this energy because we're releasing this energy, you see, not only from that person who's alive and in their mortal body, we're also releasing it from the spirit bodies of these ancestors who have passed on, right? And so I got a yes from her body. Yes, very strong. Those ancestors were there. So I released the emotion from her. And The pain was instantly completely gone. And she's literally dancing around on the stage. She goes back and sits down, right? So I finished my lecture and went back to our booth. We had some of our staff there. And about a minute after I get to the booth, this woman comes up to me, and here's what she said. She says, Dr. Nelson, she said, I wanted you to know something. She said, I'm one of those people that has the gift to see spirits. And she said, it's kind of been a blessing, kind of been a curse. I've had this all my life. She said, I wanted you to know that when you were talking about those ancestors, those grandfathers of hers, she said they were on the stage right there. She said, I could see them, and I just wanted to verify that to you, that was true. But she said there was something else going on that I don't know that you're aware of. She said, what I saw was surrounding the stage, there were at least 200 spirits. And it came to me who they were. They were the spirits of this woman's yet to be born descendants. And they were there rejoicing that they were not going to have to take on this crippling emotional energy from her. And I thought, gee, isn't that just so cool how this affects?
I just wanted to jump in. I want to jump in for a moment. I wasn't going to do this, and we got about 5 minutes left, but I have to say it. You, in your bio, I saw that you studied, there's physics, and I saw the word quantum physics. Do you know the term retrocausality?
Retrocausality is a very interesting concept, isn't it?
It's the one you just described. What the physicists say, what happens today can change the past. And you just pegged it. So this is not spooky stuff. I think this is well within what we can do for ourselves. It is not just because we talk about, the souls and all of that. What if this all was part of, this is part of God's creation. Physics is part of God's creation. The processes are all there for us. Sorry.
We get excited.
Right. Yeah. Oh, me too.
Yeah.
The beauty of this work is that anybody can do it, and it's really simple. The inherited side of this is something that's fascinating and very powerful and can result in powerful healing because, we all can be carrying I think we all have inherited baggage that we carry. We all have ancestors, and they all had hard times. And so part of us is that baggage from them. But also, we have inherited emotional energies that we've picked up during our own lifetimes. Sometimes it's from things we don't even remember. And yet you can find and remove that kind of emotional baggage with the emotion code really easily. Kids can do this. Anybody can do it. And the beauty of it is precisely that it is so simple, really, and so easy to do. And yet,
so I'm a person who's really fascinated now, and is the best way to get the book, I would imagine that because you, step by step, you would explain it and understand it by getting the book. But is there something in addition to that you would recommend?
Well, we have our main website at discoverhealing.com. And if you're looking for a practitioner to work with you, we have, like I said, 6,500 plus practitioners in 80 countries around the world. One of the beautiful things about this work is that it is pure energy medicine, and so it can easily be done at a distance, and all of our practitioners are trained how to do that. So most of them work with people in other countries, many of whom they'll never actually meet, and yet whose lives they may very well have changed.
So I'm fascinated by your next book that you're working on right now. You've given us the emotion code, but the next one is the body code. It obviously seems like a natural flow on from that piece of work. Can you give us some teasers about what's going to be in store for us with that book?
Right, absolutely. Well, what I found during those years when I was in practice is that there are really 6 different kinds of imbalances that cause all of the physical and mental and emotional difficulties that we suffer from. And those things include pathogens, for example, little infections that get into the body instead of housekeeping. They include, like coronavirus, for example. They include structural misalignments of things. Any tissue in the body can become misaligned. They include nutrition and lifestyle issues. Maybe you're not getting enough sunlight, or maybe you're deficient in a certain vitamin or mineral. You're not going to be healthy if that's going on. Toxicity, the circuitry and the systems of the body. The body is very highly organized. And then energies, like trapped emotions, energies that shouldn't get into the body, like emotional energies or trauma energies, things like that. So during those years that I was in practice, what I found was that the subconscious mind of the individual is really all powerful. And our conscious minds are kind of along for the ride, but our subconscious minds are the vastly intelligent part of us. I believe that they're more intelligent than we can begin to comprehend, and I think we haven't even scratched the surface really there. But the subconscious mind of each one of us is tied into the database of universal intelligence, the light of Christ, the morphic field, as Rupert Sheldrake would say. It goes by different names, but the universe is filled with intelligence, and our subconscious minds are connected to that. And so our subconscious minds are genius. And so what I found was I could ask my patients what was wrong with them. When I asked the subconscious mind, the subconscious would tell me. The body code is simply a way to find whatever kinds of imbalances are going on so that you can work on yourself and you can raise that immune system of yours to the highest possible level. And that's really what's going to keep you healthy in the day and age that we're living in. It's not your mask, okay?
Thank you.
It's not the social distancing.
Yeah.
It's being as healthy as you can possibly be.
Right.
And you do that by getting rid of the imbalances going on in the body, the emotional energies, the trauma energies, things like that, toxins, getting the right vitamins and minerals and things like that in the body. And so the body code is this encyclopedic, but yet very simple and dramatically fast way of finding imbalances and then correcting them. And it's you can take a look at it. It's in fact, the emotion code chart is in there as well. It's an app that runs on now it runs on desktops too, but it's available at discoverhealing.com/app, and then you can download it from the App Store, Google Play, and so on. It runs on your.
Can I'm going to ask this because we're almost out of time here.
It's unbelievable that we're out of time
I know.
now.
Well,
How
tell
did
me
that
something.
happen?
Question: when is that book coming out?
Well, it'll be sometime next year, probably in the fall.
Okay.
The publishing world, the wheels grind slowly.
Yes, we know. Question is, would you be available to come back when the book is out?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Because I'd like to time that because just to have you back would be a delight. Your work is far more grander than a half an hour. I think people are starting to realize that we have something here that is just amazing, marvelous. I thank you so much, my friend. Do you have anything you would like to say to the group?
Well, I would just say that there is a God in heaven, and He is your Father, and He loves you, and He's aware of you and knows what's going on in your life. He knows about all your challenges. And what I found in my life is that if you just ask for help, it will come. So you just trust and ask, and life can work out.
Beautiful.
Awesome. It couldn't be better.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dr. Brad, so much. And we're going to see you again, I know, and when the book is out, and for everything you're doing for humanity. That message you got, my friend, is exactly your future and what's going on now. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Lee. I really appreciate it. Thank you both so much.
Yeah. Well, you have all earned a well-deserved break. We're going to have a 10-minute break and then come straight back into the Healing Circle of 12.
Okay. See you then.